Well, I didn't expect to review the full game right now of all times. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, back in March, I took a quick look at the demo of the new Final Fantasy game, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, and I loved what I played from that demo. So now the full game is out, and it's time to see what the rest of it has to offer. So, welcome to my review of the full game for Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin.
Enjoy the show.
Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new review. For today, I'm jumping back into the world of Final Fantasy with Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. Stranger of Paradise is a 3D action RPG developed by Koei Tecmo's Team Ninja, who are also known for the Ninja Gaiden games, and it was published by Square Enix. It was announced in June of last year before game release in March of this year for PlayStation 4 and 5, the Xbox One and the series lines of consoles, and Windows via the Epic Game Store. It's meant to be a prequel of the original Final Fantasy, which was first released for the NES in December of 1987. With the game still fresh in my mind, let's answer the question. Is Stranger of Paradise any good, and is it one I can recommend to you? Let's find out, and for the record, I'm not going to be covering any of the DLC. So the plot of this game is that our main lead, Jack Garland, voiced by Mosi and Melvin, arrives in the kingdom of Cornelia with the intent of destroying an entity known as Chaos, whose darkness has begun plaguing the world. By his side are Ash, voiced by Mark A. Neely, and Jet, voiced by Alejandro Saab. Both of them have the same goal in mind as Jack. The King of Cornelia allows the three to enter the Chaos Shrine, even though he and his court are skeptical about the three being the supposed Warriors of Light, since A, there are only 3 of them instead of 4, and they possess a black crystal each. But either way, the king allowed them to enter the Chaos Shrine. Now after Jack, Jet, and Ash enter the shrine and seemingly defeat Chaos, it is revealed that they fought a young girl named Neon, voiced by Saifa Belnades of Castlevania fame herself, Alejandra Reynoso. Neon also seems to have a similar black crystal just like the 3 of them, and this is where we get this gem of a cutscene.
Bullshit.
I still prefer the original version of this cutscene, but either way, this has Metal Gear Rising levels of meme potential here. Just to give a quick example.
Bullshit.
No regrets! Anyway, Neon also decides to accompany Jakuko as the 4th warrior, and once they return to the king, he orders them to restore the 4 crystals of the element, wind, fire, earth, and water in order to save the world. To find the crystals, they meet with the king of the dark elves, Astos, voiced by Todd Haberkorn, who points them in the direction of the wind crystal. While searching for the wind crystal, our party of 4 are transported to the Flying Fortress, a space station orbiting the planet. Keep in mind, this is taking place in the same universe as the original, medieval, Dungeons and Dragons inspired, non-sci-fi oriented Final Fantasy I. We then come face to face with the first fiend of the game, the multi-headed dragon Tiamat. I am willing to admit that I searched up how to beat this guy. Apparently you just need to keep hitting his head until that yellow bar is empty, and then you could go in for the kill. Either way, this boss hits like a crossbreed of a bulldozer, a monster truck, and a wrecking ball. All made out of graphene. But after defeating Tiamat, we are met with another fallen hero named Sophia, voiced by Lara Post. With the wind crystal restored, Sophia joins our hero, and now they are a party of 5? Isn't there supposed to be a party of 4 warriors of light? I think someone might be a bit sus. Okay, I'm gonna go shoot myself now. We then find the Earth Crystal with the fiend known as the Lip.
I don't give a fuck who you are!
Okay, and the Fire Crystal is with the fiend Merilith, and finally the Water Crystal is with the fiend Kraken. After defeating Kraken, they return to Cornelia, only to find that the darkness is more prevalent than before, as they are welcomed coldly and are accused of being servants of chaos, just as monsters and darkness-infested pirates attack, led by their also darkness-infested Captain Beak, voiced by Jake Eberle, and I'm very sorry that I mispronounced the name. Once they're done repelling the attack, our warriors find and confront Astos for answers. Astos then reveals that he is an observer left behind by the Lufenians, a highly advanced civilization capable of interdimensional travel, tasked with reporting the balance of light and darkness in Cornelia. Astos attacks the warriors in admittedly a really fun boss fight, but after his defeat, the warriors regain more of their memories. It is revealed that Jack and his friends are in fact strangers, Lufenian agents tasked with traveling to Cornelia to destroy the excess darkness Lufenia disposed of there. Jack and his friends have in fact been sent to Cornelia many times before, though their memories are temporarily erased on every deployment. However, if the strangers fail to destroy the darkness, Lufenia simply resets the world. So in other words, Lufenia has the power to play God! Disgusted by Lufenia's meddling in and manipulation of Cornelia, Jack and his friends secretly plotted with Astos to find a way to break Lufenia's hold over Cornelia. Astos reveals that Lufenia fears the darkness because if it combines with human emotion, it creates literal chaos, which is one force they cannot control. He also reveals that upon his death, the darkness he has stockpiled in his body will be released and cover the entire world. Well, congrats, you morons! You brought upon the apocalypse! Jack and his friends rush back to Cornelia, but are unable to save Princess Sarah or any of the people. Now, as Princess Sarah dies in his arms, Jack recovers more memories and remembers that he and Princess Sarah have fallen in love with each other. Seeing their chance, Ash, Jed, Neon, and Sophia attack Jack, forcing him to kill them in self-defense, absorbing their collective darkness so that he can become chaos. That is insane, and it's easily why I consider my favorite fight in the entire game, especially considering the fact that the four of them wear and use the equipment that you gave them. So either this fight will be piss easy if you gave them some low level shit, or ball-bustingly hard if you gave them some of that good shit. After Jack kills his friends, he returns to the Chaos Shrine to forcefully open a portal to Lufenia, where we come face to face with Darkness Manifest. This fight is also pretty damn fun, since by this point you now have unlimited magic, and your attacks deal heavy damage. So while this final boss is fun, I feel like it was a bit too much on the easy side of things. After absorbing Darkness Manifest, Jack truly becomes Chaos. Fearful of Chaos infection, Lufenia severs their connection with Cornelia, but warns Jack that Warriors of Light will rise to resist him. This gives Jack the epiphany that he can use his power to create conditions on Cornelia that will cause true Warriors of Light native to Cornelia to rise so that they will no longer have to rely on Lufenia for protection. He then finds himself transported 2,000 years in Cornelia's past by Ash, Jed, Neon, and Sophia, who have become his four fiends. As his friends lay the groundwork to create the Warriors of Light, Jack embraces his family named Garland and waits in his throne room as the Warriors of Light arrive to challenge him, which then finally kicks off the events of the original Final Fantasy. So that was the story. And holy shit, what did I just summarize? Don't get me wrong, for a prequel to the first Final Fantasy, it's pretty good, but sometimes I feel like I was playing more of a retelling of Final Fantasy rather than a prequel. I mean, come on, we even have to do the whole fight the four fiends thing to restore the crystals. The moment where things start saying it's a prequel is when we have to fight off an invasion in Cornelia. Sure, you could also say it's as early as meeting Astos, since for most of the game he's an ally to Jack and Co. before we have to fight him, where unlike in the original Final Fantasy, he's a boss fight. Also, a flying fortress. It has been a while since I last played the original Final Fantasy, but I'm pretty sure there were no flying fortress in that game to the point where it orbits the goddamn planet! Now, as for our main cast of characters, I do like them. Jack, while yes, he starts out as a jerk in the beginning, he does slowly become a bit more caring near the end, especially when he has to kill Ash and Co. and when Sarah dies in his arms. Get that bullshit out of the video because this scene is better than that scene by a landslide. Ash, I like him. Then again, I like the more comic collective type of characters, such as Virgil from Devil May Cry or Aqua and Riku from Kingdom Hearts. Jed is also one that I like, since he is the token lighthearted comic relief character, which I think all groups should have. Besides, we all need a good laugh every now and then. Neon... I'm gonna be real here, Neon is somewhat bland, which is a shame since Alejandra Reynoso did such a good job voicing her. And finally, Sophia. Again, much like Neon, she's also somewhat bland. The supporting cast are all great as well. Fun fact, the Chaos Advent aka Garland is voiced by his Dissidia voice actor, Christopher Sabat. So, yeah, like I said, the story is good. It's just that I feel like it's more of a retelling of Final Fantasy 1 more than a prequel. But with the story done, let's move on to the gameplay. So the gameplay of Stranger of Paradise has us in control of Jack from beginning to end, and name of the game is fight, complete dungeons, fight bosses, collect new gear, and die. The core gameplay is basically if Square Enix took Final Fantasy and injected the gameplay of Dark Souls into it. Assuming you're playing the PS4/PS5 version, if you press the circle button, you have a shield, which you can use to pretty much parry enemy attacks. And if it's an elemental based attack like fire or Aeroga, you can use it against the enemies pretty much. For all you old school Bakugan Battle Brawler fans, imagine having the ability copycat permanently on your character at all times. Never thought I would make a Bakugan reference in the video! Now your partners are controlled by the game's AI, much like Final Fantasy 15, so unlike in 7 Remake, you cannot switch between your party members unless you were to do online mode. I find this to be dumb, because clearly people like the character switching mechanic in 7 Remake, so why leave it out here unless you're playing online? Well, they'll probably have to do with the fact that Jack can switch between all sorts of classes, or jobs as they're called here. Depending on what weapon you use, you have a certain selection of jobs you can use and level up before ditching it and leveling up another job. So, much like every Ratchet Clank game, after going commando, once you level up something to the max, you will no longer feel the need to use it, since you could be using that EXP to level up another job. There's also an extra job you can unlock. Once you've beaten the game on any difficulty, you get the Silic Warrior, where you can use one of 4 elemental attacks but reduces your maximum MP, but it's also a strong physical and magic based fighter. Now, this being an RPG, there are side quests you could do, my personal favorite of which being the ones where you get to fight hordes of enemies or do a boss rush, since it gives you a great chance to level up your jobs. There's also this stagger meter that enemies and bosses have. Once it gets to 0, press the circle button and watch as they burst into a sea of crystallized blood. This is so satisfying to pull off since each enemy has a different stagger kill animation, and the one that Jack does on bosses is more satisfying than gouging out Armstrong's heart at the end of Metal Gear Rising, and just as satisfying on stepping on Lord Vorsalon's head after the optional boss fight in Ratchet Clank Future of Kraken Time. So overall, the gameplay is pretty solid. I just have one issue with it, and that's the fact that the game showers you in so much loot. Like, really, it gives you so much loot in the early game, you will be up to your head in it. You can store the loot you collect at these checkpoints. They behave kind of like the bonfires in Dark Souls, or the lanterns in Bloodborne, or the graces in Elden Ring, but even the storage has a limit. So my thing is, update the game to have a larger storage capacity, or infinite storage capacity. Visually, this looks great. If I have to guess what engine Stranger of Paradise is running on, it would be the proprietary engine, which was also used for Nioh 2, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, considering that Team Ninja also developed Nioh 2, I would be surprised that they used the proprietary engine for this. But either way, this doesn't look like a PS3 or early PS4 title by any means. I feel like people are being way too judgy with the visuals. Now as for the OST, it also goes for the Dark Souls approach, where the music is mostly used in boss fights, but unlike Dark Souls, all areas do have their own dedicated themes. While searching up the OST on YouTube, the final boss theme against Darkness Manifest is a whopping 10 minutes long, aka longer than Buried Alive from DMC5's Virgil DLC. But overall, the OST is pretty bombastic in the boss fight department. So now let's recap. The story is pretty good. The gameplay, while it does have that item storage issue, it's also pretty good. Visually, it's amazing, and the OST, mainly in the boss fights, is pretty damn great. So here are my closing thoughts. Overall, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is honestly pretty fun. From the addicting gameplay that keeps luring me back in, the story that expands upon the world of Final Fantasy 1, pretty visuals, and a pretty great boss OST, I say go pick this up. Plus, it's what I consider pretty beginner friendly. Just don't get the DLC. But in conclusion, Stranger of Paradise gets my score of a 9.5 out of 10. But now I want to know from you all. Did you play Stranger of Paradise? What did you think of it? And is it a game you would recommend to a friend? Leave your answers and more down in the comments. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And while you're here, consider subscribing and turn on the bell to be notified whenever I make a new video. As always, my social media links are down below. I've been HorrorKid, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.